If you've been scrolling through endless laptop specs and still aren't sure which machine actually fits your workflow, you're not alone. I spent the past week juggling a couple of contenders, running Photoshop, a bit of gaming, and even a few Zoom marathons to see which one really delivers. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The Lenovo Yoga Pro 9i lands in a sweet spot that most people overlook. It's marketed as a creator-focused convertible, yet it throws a discreet RTX 5060 into the mix, promising a taste of gaming without abandoning the art-centric vibe. That dual identity is what makes the buying decision feel fuzzy. On one hand, you have a 16-inch 3.2K OLED panel that promises brighter and truer colors, perfect for photo and video editing. On the other, you've got a laptop that can flip into a tablet, run AI-enhanced apps, and still claim Wi-Fi 7 speeds for future-proof networking. The question is whether those headline features translate into everyday value or whether you end up paying a premium for a jack-of-all-trades that's master of none. Let's start with the display because that's where the Yoga Pro 9i truly separates itself from a typical gaming notebook. The 3.2K OLED screen hits 120 Hz, which feels buttery smooth when you scroll through large timelines in Premiere Pro or when you're moving a cursor across a massive Photoshop canvas. The OLED tech also gives you deep blacks and punchy colors straight out of the box, so you don't need a separate calibrator for most color-critical work. In real-world use, I noticed that the screen's brightness peaks at around 500 nits, which is enough to handle a bright office or a coffee shop near a window, but if you're outdoors in direct sunlight, you'll still need to tilt the lid or lower the ambient lighting. That's a trade-off you'll see with any OLED, and it's worth noting if you plan to use the laptop as a primary device on the go. Performance-wise, the Intel Core Ultra 9285H paired with 32GB of RAM feels generous for multitasking. I could keep Photoshop, Lightroom, a Chrome tab with 15 open sites, and a Spotify stream all alive without a single hitch. The RTX 5060 isn't a flagship GPU, but it does enough to push most modern games at 1080p with medium settings and to accelerate rendering in software that leans on CUDA cores, like DaVinci Resolve. For a creator who also wants to unwind with a few rounds of Valorant or Elden Ring after work, it's a comfortable middle ground. If you're chasing 4K ultra-high settings or aiming for 144 Hz competitive play, you'll start feeling the limitations quickly. Battery life is where the Yoga Pro 9i shows its hidden compromise. The 80 Wh battery, coupled with a high refresh OLED panel, drains faster than you'd hope. In my tests, a mixed usage day editing photos, a couple of Zoom calls, and a short gaming session ended around the 5-hour mark before I needed to plug back in. That's acceptable if you're mostly desk-bound or have access to power outlets, but it's a red flag for anyone looking for a true all-day mobile workstation. The charger that comes with the box is a solid 230W unit, so you can top up quickly, but the reality is you'll likely be tethered during longer trips. The convertible hinge is smooth and locks securely in tablet mode, making the Yoga Pro 9i feel more like a high-end iPad Pro with a keyboard than a traditional laptop. The touchscreen is responsive, and the stylus support works well for sketching or annotating PDFs. If you're a designer who likes to flip between mouse precision and pen input, that flexibility is a genuine productivity boost. However, the added hinge mechanism adds a couple of ounces, and at 4.8 kilograms the machine feels hefty compared to a pure tablet or a thinner Ultrabook. Carrying it around all day in a backpack is doable, but you'll notice the weight when you're juggling other gear. Connectivity is one of the quieter wins. Wi-Fi 7 is still emerging, but the Yoga Pro 9i already supports the latest 6 GHz band, which means you're set for faster, lower latency internet as routers roll out. It also sports 2 Thunderbolt 4 ports, an HDMI 2.1 output, and a full-size SD card slot, features that creators love because they reduce the need for dongles. The inclusion of a 1TB portable HDD in the box is a nice touch if you need extra offline storage, though you'll quickly discover that the internal 1TB SSD is more than sufficient for most projects. Lenovo's AI suite is another piece of the puzzle. The pre-installed Lenovo AI apps include a photo enhancer that can clean up noise with a single click, and a voice-to-text assistant that learns your phrasing over time. In practice, the photo enhancer works as advertised for quick social media posts, but if you need professional-grade noise reduction, you'll still gravitate toward Lightroom or Capture One. The AI voice assistant is